Well, hello everybody. Here's what I need to do with you today. I need to cover with you section 7-4. I hate to tell you this, section 7-4 is a little tedious section. There is a lot of multiplication, a lot of foiling that needs to happen today. Because what we do today is we give you the answers to a polynomial and we ask you to go backwards to get that original polynomial. It's not hard if you just take your time and watch how you write things. I think you'll be fine. So if you would, come over to your number 1. And then kind of hang with me on this and we'll go through this. We're going to write a polynomial that has the zeros at -2, +3, and -6. So if you would, here's how we're going to start this. I'm going to put p of x equal. All that means is I'm making up some polynomial. The variable that I'm deciding to use is x. To get a -2 as an answer, there must have been an x plus 2 in the parentheses. That way when you said x plus 2 equal to 0, you get that -2 answer. To get a +3 as an answer, there must have been an x minus 3 in the parentheses. And to get +6 as the answer, there must have been an x minus 6 in the parentheses. So there's the start of my polynomial. When we get all done, I know it's going to be a 3rd degree polynomial. Well, here comes the algebra of it all. Not hard, but hang with me. I'm going to pick any 2 of these and I'm going to FOIL them out. So if I start FOILing this out, guys, I got x times x is x squared. I've got x times -3 is -3x. 2 times x is +2x minus 6. Before I move on, I'm going to simplify that. The less terms we have to work with, the better. So I'm going to have x squared minus x minus 6 times x minus 6. Now there's a couple of different ways to do this. You can take x and distribute it backwards, or what I'm going to do, what I think may be easiest for you, is I'm going to take this x squared and distribute it there and there. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take this opposite of x and distribute it there and there. And then I'm going to come back and distribute that -6. So here's what I got going on so far. Let's take x squared times each of these. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times -6 is -6x squared. Now let's go grab that opposite of x. The opposite of x times x is -x squared. The opposite of x times -6 is +6x. Now let's take -6 times each of them. I'm going to get -6x plus 36. Now simplify all your like terms. So I'm going to have a polynomial to be x cubed, -6x squared and -1x squared make -7x squared. +6x and -6x cancel each other out. So I've got plus 36. So there's my polynomial. Now guys, on a test or quiz, what I would do to make sure you're right, graph this thing in your calculator. And then hit your trace button at the values that you're trying to work with. So I'm going to go trace -2, make sure I get 0. I'm going to go trace 3, make sure I see a 0. Then I'm going to go trace 6 and make sure I see a 0. That way you know you're right. So, like I said, a little tedious, not hard, but tedious. Here goes our number 2. This one's going to take a little bit of work. See this -2, multiplicity of 2? Here's what that means. That means there's 2 answers of -2. It means graphically it comes down, touches right there, and comes right back up, and then does some other things. So here's how to handle that. I'm going to put my p of x again. And to get a -2, there must have been an x plus 2 and there's two of them. To get positive 4 as an answer, there must have been an x minus 4. To get 1/2, there must have been an x minus 1/2. But guys, I'm going to do this. There's my x minus 1/2. You're not allowed to use fractions. You don't want to use fractions. They're ugly. So what I'm going to do, guys, whenever a fraction shows up, write it like we normally would, x minus 1/2, but multiply through by your denominator. So x minus 1/2 is the exact same thing as 2x minus 1. I just multiplied each of these items by 2. If I set this equal to 0, I get 1/2. Now when we start multiplying these things out, I don't have those ugly fractions to deal with. So now here goes. There's a lot of different ways to do this. If there's a shortcut, I'd give it to you. So I'm going to multiply this x plus 2 times x plus 2. When I start FOILing this out, I'm going to get x squared plus, I've got a 2x plus another 2x, so I got 4x plus 4. I skipped a step on you there. I went 2x and another 2x to get the 4x. Now while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and multiply these two together. X times 2x is 2x squared. I'm going to skip a step on you. Hang with me. X times negative 1 is negative 1x minus 8x. So there's a negative 9x plus 4. The reason I did that, guys, is just to save a little bit of room. Now, once again, a lot of different ways to multiply. I'm going to take this x squared times everything in here. So x squared times 2x squared is 2x to the 4th. X squared times negative 9x is negative 9x to the 3rd. X squared times positive 4 is positive 4x squared. Now let's take positive 4 times everything. So I'm going to have 8x cubed when I go 4x times 2x squared minus 36x squared plus 16x. Now let's keep going. Now take this 4 times everything. So I'm going to get 8x squared minus 36x plus 16. Whew. Now to bring it home. Combine any like terms that you see. I only see one x to the 4th. So 2x to the 4th. Let's go find our x cubes. So here's a x cubed. There's a x cubed. Negative 9x cubed plus 8x cubed looks like negative 1x cubed. Now let's go pick on all the squareds. There's a squared. There's a squared. There's a squared. So I'm going to go positive 4 minus 36 is negative 32 plus 8 gives me negative 24x squared. Now go pick on all your x terms. I spy a positive 16, a negative 36 to give me negative 20x plus my last term of 16. Whew. So there's the polynomial. Like I said, guys, not hard, just a lot of tedious. I could graph this also to check my answer. When you look at your graph, you would see that it crossed negative 2, you would see it cross 4 and 1/2. You would see something like this. Touch there, so there's the 2 roots. Now number 3 is a lot easier. Number 3 is a lot easier. So on your number 3, we've got zeros of 5, and then we got a 0 with a multiplicity of 2. That means there's 2 of them. So once again, for my p of x, to get a 0 of 5, in parentheses, there's going to be an x minus 5. And to get a 0 as an answer, there must be an x and an x. You're going to like this problem a lot. So my polynomial is I'm going to have x squared, I just multiplied those together, times x minus 5. Guys, check this one out. My polynomial is just going to be x cubed minus 5x. If you can kind of think about the graph, it crossed over here at 5, it crossed here at 0. It's going to do something like this. Touch, come back up, boom. I knew it did something like that because of this degree being odd. It could have also came up, touched, and went up, something like that. Probably the second one I drew, because the right side should be going up. Now guys, number 4 is a bear. So let's do this to number 4. Let's put an X through that. That's going to make our life a lot easier. Dealing with imaginary roots is pretty tough. You're going to see some here in a second, but multiplying them out, that problem alone took me about 7 minutes, so it's a long problem. So drop down to number 5. I'm going to change it up on you just a little bit. So we're really going to learn to factor the cubics. Now I'm not going to fire up my calculator because we did this last time and the time before. So here goes number 8. If you would graph 2x cubed minus 9x squared plus 4x equals 0. You would graph that and see if you could figure out the zeros. Well, since I'm just doing a video here, I've already graphed it for us. This thing has zeros at 0, 1/2, and 4. That means that's where it crossed the x-axis, at 0, 1/2, and 4. Now we're going to just factor it. Guys, this is really key. When you see factored form, this is really important for you. Do not multiply it out. You'll be wasting your time. So here comes. 0 is one of my answer. To get 0 as an answer, I'm going to have an x. To get 1/2 as one of my answers, I'm going to have an x minus 1/2. And to get 4 as an answer, I'm going to have an x minus 4. I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to 0. Now, get rid of your fractions. So let's multiply this piece by 2, and only that piece. So here it is factored out. X times 2x minus 1 times x minus 4 equal 0. You could leave it, the reason I set it equal to 0, guys, is that's what it was up there. So I just mimicked that. So guys, if you were to multiply all this out, which would be a waste of your time, you're going to get that right there. Okay. So on to number 6. Number 6 ties in what we did last time. I'm going to speed the process up here just a little bit. What you would need to do first is graph this. And if you would like to pause the video and graph that, feel free to do that. Because we need to graph it to see where it intersects the x-axis at. And I'm going to tell you this. After I graphed it, this builds on what we did last time when you had to find that one good answer and then use synthetic division to knock it down. That's what I'm going to do. When I graphed this earlier, I got that it's going to cross the x-axis at -2. The rest of them were ugly. They were either imaginary or they're going to come out to be decimals. So the one good answer was -2, so we're doing just what we did last time. Now I'm going to use synthetic division. I'm going to place that -2 on the outside. I'm going to go 1, 8, 22, and 20, and then I'm going to use synthetic division. So bring down your 1. -2 times 1 is -2, which leaves me a 6. -2 times 6 is -12, which leaves me a 10. -2 times 10 is -20, which leaves me a 0. That's good news for us. Oops, come back here. That's good news for us. At this moment, I have this polynomial to work with, x squared plus 6x plus 10. Now I have to go get those answers. I have to go get those answers. So now I'm stuck with the quadratic formula. So I'm going to go the opposite of b, plus or minus b squared, 36, minus 4 times a times c, all over twice my a value. So now I'm at negative 6 plus or minus the square root of, and I'm almost running out of room, negative 4, all over 2. Let me get rid of this so I can write over here now. Now I'm going to go ahead and reduce that radical as I can. So now I'm at negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 4, 2i, all over 2. Reduce it. So I'm going to have negative 3 plus I as one of my answers, negative 3 minus I as the other answer. So I reduce the negative 6 over 2 and the 2 over 2. And then guys, don't forget about that original one we found. So here's my zeros. There's my zeros. So here's what it looks like factored. To get a negative 2, there must have been an x plus 2. Watch how I write this now. To get a negative 3 plus I, there must have been an x minus this quantity, negative 3 plus I. And then, to get a negative 3 minus I, there must have been an x minus this quantity. Looks weird, doesn't it? So I went x minus the negative 2, so there's the plus 2. I need to go x minus that quantity, and then x minus this quantity. Now to bring it home, here it is. I've got x plus 2 times x, distribute this negative sign, plus 3 minus I times x plus 3 plus I. So I distribute that negative sign. Set it equal to 0, since that's what we had up here. There it is, factored. Pretty tricky there, isn't it? Kind of tricky there. So peek at that, look that over, make sure you get that written down okay. But guys, it's kind of review of everything we did. This is what we did 2 days ago. Now we're just putting them in parentheses. Okay. Come over to your number 7 if you would. We're still trying to factor that. And then guys, if you'd like, bring out your calculator, or let's do this one because I got to make sure you can do this. Graph the 18x cubed minus 9x squared minus 23x minus 6. What you're going to get is you're going to get something that looks like this. You're going to get a 0 right in there. You're going to get a 0 right about there. And you're going to get a 0 right in there. So I know this graph does something like this. So you're going to use your calculator to get those. You'll also graph the line y equals 0. So you got that going right there. Second, calculate that. Second, calculate that. Second, calculate that. Now, I cheated because I was making a video and I didn't want to bring my calculator up. When I did that, guys, I got these zeros. I got zeros at negative 2/3, negative 0.66666, so we need to know that's negative 2/3. I got a 0 at negative 1/3, and I got a 0 at 3/2. And I think I'll go back to white. So now, my polynomial is going to have x minus negative 2/3, so x plus 2/3. It's going to have a x minus negative 1/3, so a x plus 1/3. And it's going to have x minus 3/2 equals 0. Remember, no fractions, no fractions. So, I'm going to multiply this piece right here by 3. And one of my parentheses in is 3x plus 2. I'm going to multiply this piece also by 3, which leaves a 3x plus 1. I'm going to multiply this piece by 2, which leaves a 2x minus 3. So there it is, factored equal 0. There it is, factored equal to 0. So guys, the hard part here, the calculator work, getting the answers. Move on to your number 8 if you would. Once again, you would graph this and get your solutions. Since I've already done that, I'm going to tell you that your solutions comes out to be negative 5 and 5. But I'm also going to tell you there should be 4. There should be 4. So we're going to do what we did last time. We're going to use synthetic division twice to get the other two answers. So I'm going to put a, doesn't matter, I'm going to put a 5 out there. That's one I'm going to use first. I'm going to put a 1. Guys, notice I'm missing the cube term, so I'm going to put a 0. Negative 16. I'm missing the x term, and I'm going to plug the negative 225. Drop your 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Add them up and get 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Add them up and get 9. 5 times 9 is 45. Add them up and get 45. 5 times 45 is 225. Add them up and get 0. Now let me come back in, and now let's do negative 5 while I'm out here. Remember, it doesn't matter which one you do first, so drop your 1. Come back here. Drop your 1. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Add them up and get 0. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. Add them up and get 9. Negative 5 times 9 is negative 45. Add them up and get 0. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. Add them up and get 0. So look at what you got for a second now. I've used two of my answers, 5 and negative 5. I'm at this point right now, I've got x squared plus 9 equal 0. So we need to solve x squared plus 9 equals 0. I'm going to get some room over here. I should have put each of these on one slide, then it could have been a little bit better. So now, two ways to solve x squared plus 9 equals 0. Let's do this the easy way. Since there's no middle term, let's subtract 9 from both sides. Let's square root the negative 9, knowing that I got to do positive or negative. And the square root of negative 9 is 3i. So here it goes factored. I'm going to have a x minus 5 to take care of that guy. I'm going to have a x plus 5 to take care of this guy. I'm going to have a x minus 3i to take care of the positive 3i. And I'm going to have a x plus 3i to take care of that last term. And then I'll set it equal to 0. So there it is factored again, guys. There it is factored again. So we're getting close. Trust me, we're getting close. If you would, come over to your number 9. It says find all solutions for the equation of the form x squared equal k. Here's what this means. I should have 4 solutions. We're going to graph it once again and grab as many good solutions as you can. Well, if I do that, 5 and negative 5 show up. 5 and negative 5 show up. So I can do this again. I've got an x to the fourth. I can put a 5 out here. I can put a 1. And then notice I don't have any other terms for the cube, the squared, the first, or the constant. So check out what you get. I'm going to drop the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Add them up and get a 5. And let me change one thing here. Guys, for me to do this, I'm going to move it over to where this is really x to the fourth minus 625 equals 0. So this term right here should be negative 625. So once I do all this, I got 25. We'll do this one. We'll skip number 10 because these are long. 5 times 120, or 5 times 25 is 125. Add them up and get 125. 5 times 125 is 625. Add them up and get 0. Now come in and use negative 5. Drop this 1. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, makes a 0. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. Add them up. Negative 5 times 25 is negative 125. Add them up and get 0. Look at what you're left with now. X squared plus 25 equals 0. Now we're just going to solve that. I'm going to subtract 25 from both sides. I'm going to square root it and get positive or negative 5i. So all of my solutions, 5 and negative 5, and positive and negative 5i. We're going to skip number 10 because it's the exact same thing. Number 11 and number 12 is just some review I'm going to touch on real fast, and I'm going to be done. So flip down to your number 11 real fast, guys. We almost got this thing done. For 11 and 12, it says, answer each question regarding the given polynomial function. These will go by a lot quicker. List each 0 and its multiplicity if greater than 1. Well, here's all we're going to do. What do you get if you set that equal to 0? You're going to get negative 7. What do you get if you set that piece equal to 0? You're going to get 3. This right here tells you how many of those answers you have. So I'm going to have a 3 with a multiplicity of 2. That's all there is to that one. Part B here says, for each real 0, list it and tell whether the graph crosses or touches. Well, the negative 7 is going to have to cross the x-axis because there's just one of them. But think about what the 3 is going to have to do. To get 2 answers, it's going to have to touch the x-axis. My part C says, what's the degree of the polynomial? My degree here is going to be a third degree polynomial because 2 plus 1 is 3. If it's a third degree polynomial, the maximum number of turning points is going to be 2. And then remember a few days ago in class, draw a picture of the end behavior. It's a third degree polynomial. So I know that one end's going up and then one end's going down. If you look out here, see that positive number? So I know A is positive, so I know the right side's going to be going up. I know the left side's going to be going down. Try to get this out of the way just a little bit. And then here's my last one. Thank goodness, huh? List each 0 with its multiplicity if greater than 1. Well, set this piece equal to 0. So I know I'm going to get 0. Set this piece equal to 0. So I'm going to solve x squared plus 4 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 4. Square root it. So I'm going to get positive negative 2i. Set this one equal to 0. I'm going to get a 2. Set this one equal to 0. I'm going to get 5/2. Now my part B says for each 0, list it and tell whether the graph crosses or touches. Well, let's pick on the one that crosses. 0 crosses. 5/2. Both of those cross. How about the 2? The 2, it definitely touches the x-axis. We know that because of that 4th degree. Remember, the imaginary ones, they do not cross the x-axis. Now to get the total degree of the polynomial, go add up all the exponents. Here's a 1 plus a 4, so I'm up to 5, plus another 2, so I'm up to 6, 7, plus another 1. This is a 8th degree polynomial. So how did I get that again, guys? There's an exponent there of 1, 4, but look what I had to do here. I had to go grab that exponent. So I had a 1, I had a 4, so I'm up to 5, 6, 7, 8. What's the maximum number of turning points it could have? 7. Draw a picture of the end behavior. You guys told me that it's even. I got a negative number out front, so I know I must be going down to the right, down to the left. So guys, there's section 7-4. Not a hard section, but one that you really have to pay attention to. So a lot of calculator work. Good luck on the assignment. If you have any questions, please get in and see me. I'll be back in school tomorrow, so good luck.